In one of the cities of Saudi Arabia, specifically in Najran, a family lived what seemed to be a normal and happy life, until something turned their world upside down. It all began with a simple family dispute over the division of inheritance, but it quickly turned into a terrifying nightmare they never saw coming. Recurring nightmares, mysterious illnesses, and sudden death, all of these made them realize they had fallen victim to something unimaginable: magic. How did their lives shift from stability to chaos? And how did they confront this nightmare? Follow the story to uncover the horrifying details and the lessons learned. Today, we have a story about magic that took place in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. In my name and yours, we greet our family and brothers in Saudi Arabia. We all know that magic is mentioned in the Quran, and we have heard many stories about it. Perhaps you know someone who was affected by magic, or someone who suffered because of it, maybe a woman who divorced due to magic, or a man who became bedridden because of it. But can magic lead to death? This is a question I pose to you. Let's listen to the story of my sister who shared this story with us. As always, we bring you exclusive stories through your brother, Abu Saad. Today, I'll take you with me to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, specifically to Najran. What is my sister's story? And what happened with the magic? Listen, and you can judge for yourself. My sister says, I am a Saudi citizen, specifically from Najran. I am married, Abu Saad, and I have 4 sons and 1 daughter. My husband, thank God, is a good man who owns some shops, and by the grace of God, our financial situation is stable. My father, may God have mercy on him and forgive him, was married to my mother first, and after she passed away, he married another woman and had another daughter with her. So in our family there were only 2 daughters, me and my sister. We grew up in the same house, and our lives were going well. My sister was close to me, and as the years passed we both got married. My father had a house and some wealth, not a lot, but I was close to him even after I got married. My sister also got married, but after a while, my father suffered a stroke, may God heal everyone, and he became very ill. He was hospitalized, and that was his last admission. May God have mercy on him and forgive him. I was very saddened by my father's death, but this is the way of life. My sister became my only support in this world after my father's passing. We even started dividing the inheritance between us, including my father's house. I gave up my share of the house to my sister because I knew her financial situation was worse than mine. We divided the inheritance fairly after consulting scholars, and everything was fine. More than a year passed after my father's death, until one day my sister called me and said she wanted to talk. I said, "Of course, I'm here for you." I went to her and she said, "You didn't divide the inheritance fairly. You hid things from me and took money from my father. I want my rights." I told her, "That's not true. On the contrary, I even gave up my share of the house." She said, "The house is mine." Gradually, she started arguing with me, and I tried to calm her down, but it was no use. She raised her voice at me, and a big fight broke out between us. She even kicked me out of her house saying, "You're not my sister. Don't come back here. You stole my inheritance from my father." I swear by God, I didn't take a single penny more than what she got. In fact, as I said, I gave up my share of the house. But the relationship between us was severed. Despite my attempts to reconcile, she refused and even started spreading rumors about me, saying, "I will never forgive her. She stole my money." Unfortunately, our relationship was cut off for more than 6 months. I said, "May God guide her." I did my part, but I can't force her. After 6 months, my eldest son, Abdullah, started feeling unwell. He complained of chest pain and said, "My chest hurts." He kept complaining about his chest, so I told him, "Abdullah, do you smoke?" He said, "No, Mom, I don't smoke." But his condition worsened and I told him, "Abdullah, go get some tests done to see what's wrong." He went and got tests, and everything came back normal. It was just inflammation in his chest. But after a while, my other sons and daughter also started complaining of chest pain. It was strange. Everyone was suffering from chest pain, especially Abdullah. His condition worsened, and he started having nightmares. He said, "I see people coming out of graves in cemeteries." I told him, "Seek refuge in God. These are just bad dreams." But the nightmares continued, and he kept seeing dead people coming out of graves. It was terrifying. Eventually, my husband and I decided to take him to another hospital. After tests and analysis, we were shocked to find out that Abdullah had cancer. May God heal everyone and have mercy on those who have passed away. It was a devastating blow. Abdullah was in the prime of his life, but within 3 months he passed away. May God have mercy on him and forgive him. I was devastated, and my family and friends consoled me. But my sister, the closest person to me, ignored the situation. She didn't even offer her condolences after Abdullah's death. I am a believer, and I accepted God's decree, but I was hurt that my sister didn't think to console me. After Abdullah's death, my second son, Sultan, started isolating himself in his room. He would stare at the ceiling or the corners of the room as if he was seeing something. He also complained of chest pain. When I asked him what was wrong, he started crying and said, "Mom, I see dead people coming out of graves." This reminded me of Abdullah's nightmares. But then my other children and even my daughter started having the same nightmares. We all started seeing dead people coming out of graves in our dreams. It was terrifying. We even started seeing dirt or sand in the corners of our living room, even though the floor was tiled. We became isolated and afraid to go out. The only one who wasn't affected was my husband. We went to every hospital, but the doctors said it was just chest inflammation and that our condition was temporary. They said it was depression and that things would get better with time. We suffered for 5 months with these nightmares and the terrifying visions of dead people coming out of graves. Then, my husband suggested bringing a sheikh to perform Ruqya, Islamic healing, at our house. He brought a sheikh, and while the sheikh was reciting Quranic verses loudly in the living room, Sultan started screaming in his room. My husband rushed to him and found him holding his stomach in pain, screaming as if he was on fire. The sheikh continued reciting, and then my other children and I started screaming too. We all felt severe stomach pain. The sheikh told my husband, "This is magic that has been done to your wife and children." He said, "They need continuous ruqya to break the spell." My husband agreed, and the sheikh brought 3 other sheikhs to perform ruqya on us daily. After 2 months, by the grace of God, the Jinn spoke through my daughter and revealed that the magic was buried in a grave in Najran, belonging to one of our relatives. The sheikhs didn't believe it at first, thinking the Jinn might be lying. But I had a dream confirming that the magic was indeed in a grave. I saw the deceased person coming out of the grave, saying, "Save me from the torment I'm in." This dream repeated for 3 nights, and I was terrified. I consulted a dream interpreter who confirmed the truth of the vision. My husband then requested permission from the authorities in Najran to exhume the grave. After obtaining permission, we went to the cemetery with 4 sheikhs and some government officials. While the sheikh was reciting, my daughter screamed and threw herself on one of the graves. The Jinn spoke and revealed the names of my sister and the sorcerer she had hired from an African country to harm us. By the grace of God, we found the magic and nullified its effects through Ruqya. However, the Jinn also mentioned that another part of the magic was thrown into the sea, and we are still undergoing Ruqya to this day to counteract its effects. After discovering the truth, my husband and I tried to file a complaint against my sister, but there was no evidence to prove her involvement. I am certain that she was the one who did this to us, and I will never forgive her. My daughter, who is now grown, still suffers. Every time she gets engaged, she falls ill, and the engagement is broken off. All of this is because of the magic. I never expected that my own sister would harm me and my children in this way. She was the closest person to me, and I lost my eldest son, Abdullah, because of her. I never harmed her or sought revenge, yet she did this to us. May God deal with her, and may she face the consequences of her actions in this life and the next. This is my story, and I wanted to share it with you as a lesson. Not everyone close to you wishes you well. Some people may be close to you but wish for your destruction and the destruction of your family. May God protect everyone and heal my sister and her family, as they are still suffering from the effects of the magic. Pray for them. In the end, we say, God is sufficient for us, and He is the best disposer of affairs. Those who wish harm upon others will only destroy themselves, for they lose both this world and the hereafter. No matter what they do, their plots are weak, and God will hold them accountable. Many stories like this reach me, and they are truly chilling. Beware of those close to you, even relatives, who may seek to destroy your life. They do not wish for your happiness or the happiness of your children. This is a reminder to always seek refuge in God and to recite the Quran regularly. May God protect us from the evil of jinn and humans. Conclusion of the story with the moral. After a long struggle and the revelation of the truth about the magic that afflicted the family, everyone learned a harsh lesson. Not everyone who stands by your side wishes you well. Even the closest people to you may have hidden intentions to harm you. This story reminds us of the importance of relying on God and seeking His help in all our affairs, while staying away from envy and hatred that can lead to destructive actions like magic. It also confirms that the plots of magic are weak, and that God is the ultimate protector and helper. In the end, those who wish harm upon others only destroy themselves in this life and the hereafter. Let us always strive to be mindful of God, recite the Quran, and turn to Him in all situations, for He is the best guardian and helper.